Now at 10, details about a new Oklahoma law that requires a biological sex affidavit for public school students to participate in sports. Plus, we're going to hear from the person who bought a famous pole from an area Walmart for a good cause. And Pitt State hosts a high school prospect camp.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
A federal judge affirms the right to record video of law enforcement. This is KOAM News at 10. The 10th Circuit Court of Appeals that oversees Kansas and Oklahoma ruled it's well within our First Amendment right to record police officers while they're in the field working. This is in response to a 2019 case where a YouTube blogger claimed a Denver suburb police officer kept him from recording a traffic stop.
To me, a lot of those interactions where an officer is either blocking that or they make an arrest like that, a lot of times to me, that's the officer not being educated on or trained on how to handle that situation. So, you know, the officers, if they're trained properly and they know, like I said, it's okay to record.
For more information on this story and the ruling, you can go to our website. That's KOAMnewsnow.com. Some Oklahoma school districts have begun enforcing a new law that requires students to submit a biological sex affidavit to participate in school sports. In northeastern Oklahoma, schools are getting the word out to their communities, and they've received some conflicting opinions from the public.
They're ready for football. They're ready for all the extracurricular activities. So they're going to do, as far as I know, what they have to do to get their kids legal and on the field. So I imagine since it's not an issue, I don't foresee just filling out a form being an issue, but it's just another form we have to fill out.
You can find a link for more information on the law again at KOAMnewsnow.com. A local organization is making sure Pittsburgh residents are registered to vote ahead of next month's elections. Today is the last day to register in Kansas, so the Women's Alliance for Voter Education was at Root Coffee House today, helping people register and update their information. An organizer says passion for voting has no age.
Young people need to register to vote and to realize their voice. There's so much pride that you feel in voting, whether you vote when you're 18 or whether you vote when you're 88. Everyone loves that passion, and you feel so proud of yourself when you leave that voting booth.
People have until the end of the day, technically until midnight, to get registered to vote. Let's check in with Nick Kelly for our first look at the weather.
It was a much better day, that was for sure, down with a cold front that passed on through. Not only to give us some rain and storms this morning, it actually provided us a little relief from the heat and the humidity. Lows actually dropping back to 70 around the noon hour. Then once the sun returned, we quickly jumped to 89 degrees for an afternoon high at Joplin Regional. This was the scouting rain and storms that a good number of us were happy to see. But once we got into the afternoon, the sinking front to the south cleared the skies out. Now we have high pressure keeping us quiet with that north breeze in place for the rest of the night. Right now, it's allowing temperatures to drop back already in the lower 70s for some of our northern counties. A lot of us are still in the mid 70s right now, but all these numbers are running anywhere from 8 to 15 degrees cooler than where we were last night. And I don't think we're done dropping off just yet. Fortunately, we're going to drop back into the mid 60s with lows most spots around 64. But with dry air in place now, with returning sunshine, we'll have to go back into the 90s toward tomorrow. We'll see if we'll turn any hotter over the next several days here in a few.
See you then. A young girl who was critically injured in a pool at Oceans of Fun in Kansas City, Missouri, has died. According to a statement from the park's spokesperson, a lifeguard had responded to a young female guest in distress in the Coconut Cove pool. The lifeguard was able to pull her out of the water, and the park's EMS workers administered CPR. The Kansas City Fire Department arrived to continue caring for her and take her to a local hospital. Law enforcement says the girl was younger than 10 years old. Some Pittsburgh drivers might need to find an alternate route if they take East Quincy Street. The city of Pittsburgh today began their East Quincy Street Reconstruction project. Phase 1 of the project will be to close East Quincy Street from Franklin Road to Taylor Street. Traffic on East Quincy between Franklin Road and Free King Highway will be limited for local traffic only. Rouse Street will also be reduced to 2 lanes. A notorious Pittsburgh parking lot pole has found a new home. KOAM's Amber Jenkins spoke to its new owner.
An infamous pole in the parking lot of a Pittsburgh Walmart has been sold for a good cause. Many drivers have experienced the pain of the pole, and now Walmart has sold it to raise funds for children.
Give away the pole to the highest bidder at a silent auction. I reached out to them and said, hey, we've got probably a case of shirts that if it's, if they can help you out, you can, more than welcome to them. And went ahead and put my bid in when I offered that, and got a phone call a couple days later that I won the pole.
The humor and oddity of the pole has reached beyond Pittsburgh. The Facebook groups that posted memes about cars driving into the pole went viral.
We actually made shirts for it right when they took it out, just as a joke. And it got to the point where, we shipped shirts to Australia, the UK, a couple in Germany too.
The pole was one of the items Walmart was auctioning in order to raise money for the Children Miracle Network. All proceeds will go to helping children in the community.
How much I spent on the pole, my wife was kind of, I just had to keep explaining to her it's for charity, and we get a good laugh out of it, so.
The Pittsburgh pole is infamous for the numbers of drivers hitting it, but the pole did more than damage cars. It brought a community together with laughter.
And it's actually kind of strange how it brought people together, and with the Corona and all that, it's kind of nice to have that that comedy and just something to take your mind off stuff.
In Pittsburgh, Amber Jenkins, KOAM News.
That Pittsburgh pole is going to start its tour moving among local businesses very soon. If you're a teacher looking to work with children with disabilities, now might be your chance. Thanks to a new certification path in the state of Missouri, the Joplin School District is now looking for a broader range of applicants for paraprofessionals. Previous certification required 60 hours of online schooling to become certified, but now the certification requires only 20 hours of online training.
I would really like for people to know that being a paraprofessional is a really rewarding job. You get to be on the front lines of supporting students and seeing the growth day to day that they have in their educational journey, and every day when you go home that you had an impact in the life of a student.
The school district is seeking to hire 31 paraprofessionals for the upcoming school year. Coming up, a political action committee in Oklahoma agrees to dissolve and pay a fine. We're going to have details, plus the latest on the release of new footage from the Uvalde school mass shooting. An influential political action committee that's helped to elect Republicans to the Oklahoma Senate has agreed to dissolve and pay the state a fine of more than $60,000 after an investigation revealed state campaign finance rule violations. The Republican Senatorial Committee agreed to the settlement with the Oklahoma Ethics Commission. Now, as part of the agreement, PAC officials acknowledge accepting more than $35,000 of impermissible contributions. Those came from corporations or contributions earmarked for a specific candidate or candidate committee, both state ethics rules violations. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is transitioning to a 3-digit number Saturday. 988 will be that number. The line operated as a 10-digit number for more than 15 years. Health officials are trying to reach more people because one caller out of every 6 hangs up before talking to anyone with the hotline. The new line, with more than $400 million in federal funding, hopes to cut response time and answer more calls. Video has been released by local media in Texas that shows more than an hour of inaction by law enforcement in Uvalde as a gunman killed 19 children and 2 teachers. The video doesn't show the violence and has been edited to remove the sounds of children screaming, but it's still very disturbing and difficult to watch. Reporter Matt Piper has details, including the angry reaction from the victims' parents over the release of the footage.
Surveillance video obtained by the Austin American-Statesman shows the gunman armed with an AR-15 style weapon entering Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas. He walks down a hallway and, with a young boy appearing just around the corner, opens fire into a classroom for 2.5 minutes. Moments later, the first police officers enter the school. They approach the classroom but do not enter, and when more gunfire is heard, they retreat. For more than an hour, dozens of officers with rifles and shields are seen waiting down the hall. One even uses the hand sanitizer mounted on the wall. More than an hour after the gunman entered the school, officers finally breach the classroom door and kill the gunman.
Jayla, Jace, Eliana.
Families of the 19 children and 2 teachers were supposed to see the video first this weekend before it was released publicly. They're outraged over how it came out.
Since you decided to leak the video to this reporter, put a name to those faces that I hope haunt you in your dreams. Because we are haunted every day.
Uvalde City Council members say the gunman's movements and gunfire were not going to be included.
The way that video was released today is one of the most chicken things I've ever seen.
Some family members are in Washington, D.C. They are attending a rally on Wednesday to call for stricter gun control laws and an assault weapons ban. Matt Piper, CBS News.
Investigators are putting together a report detailing the police response that will also be released, with preliminary findings expected on Sunday. Both houses of Congress today addressed the issue of abortion. A House Rules Committee took up the Women's Health Protection Act, which would codify the right to an abortion. The Senate Judiciary Committee heard from both sides about the ramifications of the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. President Biden yesterday told hospitals that under federal law, they must provide abortion services if the life of the mother is at risk, even in states that now ban the procedure without any exceptions. A little bit later, we're going to hear from some local baseball players who got to work out at a prospect camp.
And behind our last run, we are going to start off Wednesday on a nice and mild note before the heat kicks back in tomorrow afternoon. Forecast next. Mother Nature was certainly kind to us by giving us our cold front that came on through earlier today. Not only did it bring everybody at least slightly cooler air and drier air, but as the upper levels got into action as well as the front passed on through, look at what it did. Actually gave us a decent scattering of rain and thunderstorms this morning, certainly prevalent in southeastern Kansas and areas mainly west of 49 and north of the 44 in southwestern Missouri. Unfortunately, those of you south of the interstate, those storms fell apart before you could cash in on some of the action. But the areas that did pick up rain on the average, area-wide, 0.3 of an inch according to radar estimates, but the bigger bullseye in southeast Kansas and almost to Nevada showing 0.8 of an inch on the average. In fact, so much rain over Wilson County earlier today, you actually had aerial flood warnings that expired at 3:45 this afternoon. It's amazing to see that even with this setup, so much rain in such a little time can really cause the rain amounts to tick up fast. But ever since we got the rain out of here this morning, we've been sitting underneath quiet skies for the rest of the day, and that's what we're still seeing from Indigo Sky outside of Seneca, Missouri, our live shot there, and our live camera from 7th and Rangeline. Thankfully, we're at 75. Numbers continuing to drop with those dew points in the lower 60s and the humidity at 64%. That still gives us some wiggle room for temperatures to work with. What do I mean by that? We're seeing some lower 70s on the board already along in north of 54. Everybody else in the lower to middle 70s. Which, by the way, these numbers are running anywhere from 8 to almost 15 degrees cooler than where we were at the warm start of the 10 o'clock hour last night. The wiggle room that we have for temperatures will allow us to drop back into the 60s for tomorrow morning. That's going to be mighty refreshing thanks to an area of high pressure at the surface, keeping that north and northeasterly breeze in place behind that cold front, and us temporarily back on the, let's say, cooler side of the jet stream. But starting tomorrow, the jet's going to start lifting back to the north and east, so the upper levels will rise and get to work on getting us back into the 90s starting tomorrow. At least before we go back into the summer heat tomorrow afternoon, we'll enjoy a nice mild start to the morning. Mostly clear skies, lows in the mid-60s. We'll certainly take it because of all the drier air that's in place, but that same dry air mass, as it cools down fast during the night, it heats up fast throughout the day. I think The future track here is undershooting temperatures a little bit. I think we'll be in the mid to upper 80s actually by tomorrow afternoon to start things out. Then we'll see afternoon highs topping out back in the lower 90s, but we're keeping that humidity in check overall, so it won't feel too sluggish during the afternoon tomorrow. 64 in the morning, 88 by noon. We'll push highs near 93 with an east to northeast breeze staying light at 5 to 10. Keeping it mostly clear for Wednesday night, Thursday morning, upper 60s to near 70 for your lows, and then back into the mid to almost upper 90s for Thursday afternoon. And going into the weekend, the upper ridge wants to push us into the upper 90s to near 100, but by Friday and at times during the weekend, we'll have to watch for a front nearby and some passing upper level waves. You can see how it wants to try to give us some rain chances, and depending on how the upper levels play out, we may see another little dip in the highs going into early next week. 93 tomorrow, 96 Thursday, 98 Friday. After we push 100 on Saturday now, I'm expecting temperatures to go back mainly into the mid-90s at least going into early next week.
That is a little dip. Unfortunately, it is very little, but it's something, I guess.
We'll take whatever we can get.
I suppose. Thanks, Nick. Hey, firefighters are facing extreme heat as they battle a growing wildfire in Yosemite National Park. States are experiencing extreme heat, with heat affecting Kansas farmers and their crops. Jonathan Vigliotti reports.
The Washburn fire in Yosemite National Park grew even larger Monday. It's already scorched more than 3.5 square miles in a southern corner of the park.
Obviously, it is in an area where it is getting into wilderness, so it is getting into steep country.
More than 500 firefighters are battling the fire, which is threatening the park's famous giant sequoia trees. Park Service employees are working to protect them.
I'm standing right in front of the grizzly giant, which is arguably one of the most famous trees on Earth, and we've got a sprinkler system set up around it. We really don't want to leave this one to chance because this really is such an iconic tree.
In Utah, record-breaking heat and high winds are fueling massive wildfires. That includes the Jacob City fire, whose flames spread to almost 6 square miles. In Texas, record-breaking temperatures prompted the state's power grid operator to ask residents and businesses to conserve energy, saying there's a potential for rolling blackouts.
We are working with all of our partners in the community, including churches and others, to look at different spaces and places for people to go and get into the AC.
And in Kansas, temperatures are hovering around the triple digits, taking a toll on local farmers.
When you know your crops are struggling, when you know they're suffering, it's really, really hard to stand out here and watch your crops burn up.
The forecast there doesn't call for much rain anytime soon. Jonathan Vigliotti, CBS News, Yosemite National Park.
The National Interagency Fire Center says this year so far has been well above average in terms of both the number of wildfires and the size of the damage. Jacob here now with sports. Joplin Outlaws playing 2 tonight at Joe Becker Stadium.
The Outlaws finish up a suspended game against Chillicothe, then their regularly scheduled game. We're going to check in on that. And local baseball players hit the field aiming to catch the eye of some college coaches. We'll have that story next. The Joplin Outlaws hit the field tonight for the first time since the Mink League All-Star break. The Outlaws host 2 games against the Chillicothe Mudcats, finishing a suspended game before playing their regularly scheduled game. And Joplin won the first one 17-7, so game 2. Outlaws trying to stay rolling. Right now they're in the top of the 6th inning. Joplin leading 7-6. Joe Riccio is 1 for 2 with a double and an RBI for the Outlaws. Well, Pittsburgh State Baseball hosts a high school prospect camp today at Al Ortolani Field. More than 50 players showed up this morning to show what they can do and get an evaluation from local college coaches.
Bounce around. We're watching every little thing we do. Let's start out really good. Let's keep it rolling.
We got a great group out here today. We're going to put them through a pro-style workout this morning, then come back out and play some games.
I really would like to go to the next level and play. I really just want to try to, get my name out and try to show these coaches what I can do and hopefully maybe get in contact with some guys. So,
Howdy, baby.
I just came out here to show my abilities to play baseball and look for a spot for me to play at the next level. Oh, it would mean a lot. I mean, that's my dream since I was, 5 maybe. So it'd be awesome to play at the next level.
As long as you didn't hit the pitcher, he's out.
It's a huge recruiting tool. Not only are we recruiting, we have Butler County, Labette, and Coffeyville here today. So we got other schools here. We're getting to see our whole staff is here. Their staffs are here, and they're getting in front of a lot of people today to hopefully make themselves better and get themselves looks. They'll get a full form evaluation of all their readings and what we think of them as a hitter, think maybe something they can improve on.
If I'm thinking about messing up, I'm probably going to mess up more than I need to. Okay, just relax, have fun. Hi, boy Colt.
I've been hurt lately, so it's an opportunity to show them what I can actually do because I've been hurt and I haven't been able to show my coaches or anybody around what I can actually do.
Throw a strike. Baby.
I miss baseball. I haven't seen my guys for a month and a half.
The players aren't here. I get a little rusty at this stuff. Miss them.
It's good for us to get out and meet these guys and get to know them. Even if they don't show up at Pitt State right off the bat, they might go to a junior college and we'll be recruiting them again. And we save our notes. We kind of know who they are and just the personalities. When we go to games, we're going to know who they are. They're going to know who we are.
Moving on to the major leagues tonight, the Cardinals open a 4-game series against the Dodgers. Cards have just 6 games left until the All-Star break, looking for their 3rd straight win. And they win it tonight, 7-6. Albert Pujols goes 1 for 3 on the evening with a solo home run. In the American League, the Royals have a chance for their first 4-game winning streak of the season tonight. They're at home for Game 3 of a 4-game series against the Tigers. They fall on this one 7-5 though. Andrew Benintendi 2 for 5 on the evening with a pair of RBIs. And that's it for sports. We're back with more news after this.
Take time now to honor a local veteran. Robert Isaacs served in the U.S. Navy from 1966 to 1968. The Joplin Navy was stationed in Vietnam and North Korea, and we are proud to salute Robert Isaacs, a 4-state hero. Temperature, for the most part, today was not too bad, and the humidity was low enough that it was tolerable, but things are changing.
Yeah, that same dry air that came in today, Dow, is going to allow us to drop into the 60s overnight, but it's going to send us back into the mid-90s, lower to middle 90s tomorrow. Most of us are around 93. Then we'll start pushing into the mid to almost upper 90s by the time the weekend gets going.
Final sports note.
Just a reminder, we are now just about 10 days away from the Kansas Shrine Bowl in Pittsburgh. It'll be 7 o'clock, July 23rd at Carney Smith Stadium at Pittsburgh State. Always a cool event. All the teams will be coming in here next week.
Cool in one way, it'll be hot
yeah,
in
right.
another,
In another.
Thanks for joining us. Morning show starts at 5 a.m. Let's make it a great tomorrow.